Welcome to Timelines, episode 154. Well. Today we have attorney Howard Kline, and he's coming to us from Santa Margarita, California. Santa Margarita is in Orange County, so he's one of those Orange County guys. He's an attorney. He's been a real estate broker. I take it you were a broker, correct?
Yes.
Broker, licensed broker, probably still is, because once you're a licensed broker. No, you gave it up your license, huh?
No, twice I did. I didn't feel like spending the time to re-up the license.
Oh, let me get back on script here. Howard is the producer of CRE, Commercial Real Estate Radio, which serves as an independent source of original content which explores issues confronting commercial real estate industry. Oh my gosh, there's no reason ever in California not to do continuing education. I've been a broker there forever. I've gone to war and stayed a broker.
There's no excuse.
It's pretty easy down there too. California is really squared away, I think, when it comes to
I don't think it was. When I first got my broker's license, it was easy. The second time I got my broker's license in, I think it was around 2006, it had changed. There was so much stuff on it that I had to learn that I studied for about 3 or 4 weeks at the local library, just sequestered myself. And then when I took the exam, I walked out going, I flunked this. Well, I didn't. And there's no excuse for not re-upping the license and taking continuing education.
I actually like the continuing education. There's some very good schools. I used to use Gold Coast for our real estate company in Central California to support us. We used to actually teach real estate agents the principles, taught over 100 people myself. I enjoyed doing that, teaching. I was an engineer, but I enjoyed going in and helping my wife and teaching the classes because I really thought it was interesting stuff. I think California, this is one of the good things we'll say about California. California Association of Realtors and the way they run real estate in California is pretty darn good. I'm in Nevada. My wife is a licensed broker here. And I would say this is one of the few places that California definitely does much better than Nevada is how they manage. And it's actually freer, gives more authority, and is less regulated. I mean, it's regulated, but less regulated than Nevada. Nevada, you have to have all these specialty licenses. It's really like a little crony system they have over here that really keeps the California brokers out, by the way.
When was the last time you actually looked at all of the documents necessary for the purchase and sale of a home? I don't know about easy.
No, I understand what you're saying about the disclosure, and a lot of those are Fed and state and all this. I'm just talking about the way they run the licensing and what they allow brokers to do. But they expect you to have all your paperwork right, all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. My wife is really good at that business. She's been a broker for 25 years, managed 2 brokerages, and has run a team. And she's moved to Reno. After I got out of the military, we moved to Reno, and she's had to restart here. And I'll tell you what, it is tough to restart.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It is so frustrating. Let me tell you, you'll get this. We're sidetracked, and this is your story, and we're really going off track here.
Actually, I'm not a residential agent. Yeah. So.
Well, she just had a big listing all lined up, really connected well with a person. And what she would do is she'd go and do an open house when they're for sale by owner. And this is a big house. Anyway, the person, long story short, decided to go bankrupt and turn it over to attorney. And I'm not going to practice law here, but the attorney had their 20-something person be the agent, which didn't connect at all with the person. You know, just took it over, took the agent. So here my wife is a 25 years broker, losing to somebody with a less than 15 transactions. Because the relationship, it's the attorney taking over and guiding the person through the
life and business is very frustrating. There's a lot of what appears to be unfair, but it is what it is.
This is Timelines, and it's about your timeline, but I'm going to show you why everyone should produce their own show. I'm going to ask a law question because I can't technically answer this or really go into too much detail. But in California, if someone goes bankrupt, should they put their house? They shouldn't put, if they live in a home, they shouldn't put it in the market until after they go bankrupt, right? Until they clear the bankruptcy?
It depends upon the kind of bankruptcy that you file. If you retain a broker, put it up for sale, and then you file bankruptcy, the trustee will most likely fire your broker and put their own broker in.
Right.
If you're almost again, it depends upon the financial consequences, but if you have equity, you may want to sell the house before you file bankruptcy. With that being said, there was a neighbor around the corner from me who came to me, and they had equity in the house, but they had so many lawsuits against them on other things that I said, look, you need to see a bankruptcy lawyer. And because you'll be able to save some of that equity. You file a homestead,
right?
You need to do this, and you need to do it quickly because everybody's about to execute on these judgments, and they're not going to let go because there's equity there. So you better get this done, and I believe that's what they did. So instead of getting zero, they ended up $150,000 in California homestead exemption. I'm not sure what the exact amount is, but it's.
So if you have a bankruptcy, I know I've seen this. I had a lot of builder friends.
I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer, by the way, just so that you know.
But you're in real estate. But there is a point where the bill. I've seen a lot of folks in Central California, in the industry I was in, go bankrupt, and they could protect their home and some of their tools to a certain limit, like the 150,000 equity in their home, or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but there's something where they can protect it.
It varies from state to state. There are various things. For instance, I understand, and I may not be correct. And let me give this disclaimer. I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer, nor am I giving bankruptcy or any kind of legal advice. Got to do that.
But you are an attorney licensed in California in Pasadena.
Yes, I'm an attorney licensed in California. So what I can say is that the bankruptcy exemptions, the bankruptcy court, you can either rely upon the federal exemptions or you can rely upon the exemptions of the state in which you reside. And often those state exemptions are better than the federal exemptions. I don't know if it's still the case. I know in Florida, at some point in time, you could actually protect your entire residence as an exemption. And there were stories, I think it was on 60 Minutes, where they would talk about people would move to Florida, buy a home in Florida, could have, I don't know how much equity in the home, and they were able to protect all of it because when they filed bankruptcy, they were residing in Florida. Don't go ahead and do any of that. I'm not telling you can do it. I'm just making the point that it varies from state to state.
Right. No, right. It is tough. And I'll tell you, having to learn the laws in Nevada after being in brokerage in California for so long has been work too. Hey, so we're going to get back on your timeline. You have a radio show, and you've been doing this for a while. And what I really like is you sort of transitioned. That radio show is sort of a platform for your business too. I mean, it's the way to build relationships, to know, like, and trust. Tell us about your show and how you got there. A little bit of your background.
Well, I originally, about a year prior to starting the show, someone had interviewed me on a podcast. And I thought that this was a really, really good idea. So I started looking into podcasting, and it was just, I'm going, wait a second, this is just too much. So I put it aside for a year. And then about a year later, I looked into podcasting again, and I found a online platform called Blog Talk Radio. And they had a free version, and then they had a $39.95 per month version. And it seemed pretty easy, and it really was very easy. That's not to say that there was a lot to learn. Excuse me. But I started doing I started doing radio shows, and the idea was that I had retired from the practice of law. I was doing some residential real estate, and I needed some new clients. So I hate cold calling, which is why I was a lousy real estate broker. And I was trying to figure out ways. I said, yeah, I am going to have to cold call. How do I warm up the call? And so I thought, gosh, I could do a radio show. And I could call it Commercial Real Estate Radio, and nobody's going to know any different that it's online. What is the difference if it's online? I could actually broadcast this all over the world. So the idea was I would call up potential clients and say, how would you like to be on the radio? And the thought was that I have such a great gift of gab that once I was talking with them, they were mine. So that's how it started. But I had a friend who'd been with CBS Radio for about 40 years, and I asked him to take a look or listen. And he said, this is actually, his first thought was, yeah, he's a lawyer, and he's not going to be able to do any of this. But then he was listening to, he says, there are a lot of things that you can improve upon, but this is really a good idea. So we got involved along with his son, who is the webmaster, and we started putting this together, and we really didn't promote it for the purpose of getting legal work, although I've gotten some legal work from it, not much. And we just got into doing this radio show and interviewing people all over the world. And then we transitioned to video. Mm-hmm. And now we're transitioning to live interactive.
Like we are right now, we're live. So people
Absolutely.
Live. We've got people watching us who come in after the show and ask questions.
Yeah.
It's good.
And that's the story in a real summary.
So you go back 40 years in California, at least, practicing law, something like that, mm-hmm. You said. That's a long time.
1976, I started.
I graduated from Estancia High School that year, and we headed off to West.
Okay, you're a lot younger than me. I get it.
and then you also have been doing the radio show 5 or 6 years, right?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That was excellent. I like what you just did. He just coughed and he blocked it out. That's a real pro. Was that in your set? You blocked that?
Yes, I blocked it out. I could also do it on Blab too.
So what kind of speaker are you using? What kind of microphone?
Logitech. I'm a big. Most of the time when I do my shows, I use various different microphones and an earpiece like you. This is actually up in my other office where I'm doing this, so I prefer the sound.
Howard is in the middle of moving from a 4,000 square foot house in Santa Margarita to another area in Orange County that's smaller. He's downsizing. The kids are grown.
To 1,700 square feet.
That's still a nice size house, and it's got a guest bedroom. Yeah,
no, it's got a loft where my office is going to be. My wife works out of the house, and then it's a total of 3 bedrooms. It's in a wonderful community.
What's your wife do?
My wife is an executive recruiter.
Oh, really? In Orange County?
And she does very well.
What's she specialize in? What type of executive?
She's a recruiter for the recruiting companies. So she generally finds the larger recruiting companies finds their management. Okay. I don't know why they don't do it themselves.
It doesn't make any sense, does it?
She's really good at it. I mean, she'll get on the phone. She is a recruiter's dream, a salesperson's dream. Mm-hmm. She loves getting on the phone, and she'll be on the phone making 50 calls a day, nonstop. She just loves what she does. She loves finding people jobs. She makes very good money. She's a wonderful person. Don't quote me on any of this. I don't want her to know that I think all of this. And, we both work out of the house.
Hey, we're going to actually go to our first break and a little commercial. And we'll come back and we'll talk about your success, life, and leadership principles.
Great. Can I step aside and see what the movers are doing?
No, we're not going to let you. You have to stay there.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Hey, folks, this is Bill. We're on a secret break right now. And I've got Richard came on and Deb came on. That's the power of this new platform. And it's live. Hi, Deb. Hi, Richard.
Hey.
How you doing, Bill?
Hey. So, Richard, where are you calling from?
Doral, Florida.
Doral, Florida. Yeah, we're talking about Florida. And Deb's calling from North Carolina, right?
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause this again. And one of the reasons why my wife didn't want to come here to Nevada is because we have girls. And she didn't like the concept of prostitution, but now it doesn't bother her. And by the way, I'm more libertarian than anything else.
On my show, one of my closest friends is libertarian, and I'm going to have him on my show because our political views are diametrically opposed to each other, but we have such great conversations when we get together.
I think I like Rand Paul.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. You're a libertarian, so I'm sure that you do.
My son is definitely.
We end up walking away from lunch always finding something that we can agree upon, and going, man, that was such a good conversation.
Well, most people, even if you're right, left, center, 95% of the why is the same.
Yes,
the why is the same. We'll talk about that. So let's hit the show. Here we go. So let's blab. Anyone want to blab up there? Rob, no time. I just don't want to blab.
Always problems.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
They took a
I'm just happy we're finishing this.
Yeah, the guys, I won't even go into it.
By the way, I have 15 reserve shows or 10 reserve shows that I can put up if I miss a show.
No, we're fine. Let's get going. We were talking about helping others.
Well, hold a second. Let me record.
Oh, okay. No, I'm on live, but
I'm getting busy, folks.
Okay.
Try it in English.
Yeah. So the big chair that's in the game.
I know they have to get the cushion back.
Yeah. So
tell them to get it.
They already packed. It's very.
I don't care. I just told him, get the cushion back. That's a $1,500 chair, and your mother will kill them. Thank you.
I can talk real fast.
Yeah, just not very intelligent people.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just make a long story short. They took the cushion off a leather chair, which my wife really, really, really wants to take with us. Mm-hmm. So my children, I think, incorrectly said, take everything. So I caught them very early on and said, we're not taking that. So they had taken the cushion, put it all the way in the back of the truck. And, of course, the chair has no value unless it has a cushion. So first, one of the movers said, well, we don't really want to go to the back. And I said, you got to do that. I don't care where it is. You just do it. I don't have to argue about it. You're a military guy. It's like, this is not a debate. Yeah. Just do it.
That's another thing we talk about. It's a two-edged sword.
Yeah, and so, of course, then my daughter comes in and wants to communicate the same question to me, and I'm going, didn't I just answer that question? Do it.
My daughters definitely aren't in the military.
Yeah, no.
The other one is, I was gone for I was at Fort Leavenworth, and they stayed out in California, and I was overseas a lot. And I was gone for about 5 or 6 years of their life. I just see them time, but they have a great time when we met up, wherever we met up. We always were having a great time, doing things.
What do your kids do?
The 13-year-old is, they're both gymnasts, and they're in high school. One's in high school, one's in 8th grade. The 13-year-old is number 3 overall in the Southwest in gymnastics rated last year, and she's number 1 in bars.
Wow.
It's a very, very expensive sports. They're going to, their meets are in San Francisco, New York, and New York State is in Las Vegas. And I'm missing some big city somewhere. I know they go to Sacramento. I'm missing some other places. Long Beach. I think it's Long Beach. But they have
how old are they?
13 and 15.
Oh.
They both are good enough for college. Will be good enough for college if they just stick with it. 13-year-old has a chance to go to the national teams. We're not recording this, are we?
No, that's all right.
To hear that. It's a little, with 2 girls like that, it's tough because the 15-year-old was ahead of her when she was younger for a short period of time, just on skill sets. But the 13-year-old's really taken off. Great attitude, amazing attitude, 13-year-old. Anyway, both have good attitudes, good students. My son, we have a son who's in the Coast Guard, pilot. So he went to Coast Guard Academy. Anyway, so where we are, I'm asking you about your life and health. Let's knock this out here. Let me get back. I was just doing a search. I went up online. Hey, Claude, I see you're up there. I've got an opening tomorrow at 9:00. You haven't done a timeline yet, so why don't you come on up?
Yeah, I got to apologize to you, all these little
don't apologize.
Interruptions, as I said that this wasn't supposed to happen. Actually, they were supposed to pick up this stuff yesterday, and it got all messed up.
I used to care about stuff. I don't care. Just as long as it's a decent show, good dialogue. The sound doesn't have to be perfect, but, let's get it within reason and do it fast. The main thing is to get it up. So let's knock this out. Let me get back.
By the way, Richard, you probably were following me on CRE Radio. Hello, Richard. Nice to see you.
Hey, here's my, to talk about know, like, and trust. I'm helping my wife out with this a little bit. I'm trying to teach her to blog. So that's our That's our Christmas card on our blog page. I'm really having fun on that blog. I'm having a blast on the blog because I set up the webpage for her.
I'm assuming you're using WordPress.
Oh, yeah. But I'm having fun on that blog. So I just put her blog in there. You can see our Christmas letter. I said, you only have 110, so we're going to blog this to the world. I'm going to email this out for you, that people individually with a little note and have you email it out because only 110. You need, in real estate, this number. You need a personal farm of 600 people to make a living, make 8 to 10 houses a year. 300 to 400 personal. You got to talk.
It's numbers.
It's strictly a numbers game. You got to know, like, and trust, the same thing. And then you need a geographical farm, and then you get some people coming in. So let's knock this out.
Sure.
I got to get back where I was, though, on my notes. So helping others. We were talking about helping others. Where do you want to go with that to tie it in?
Well, I just think that it's fundamental to success in social media.
Okay,
If you're going to use...
Well, let me mention Seth Godin.
Sure.
I'll come back.
Did they put it back?
Murphy. I just started the recording.
That's it.
Anyway, so we're talking about helping others. Howard, I'm just so happy we're knocking this out today. It's the holidays, but we're talking about helping others. And when you're talking about helping others, I think of Seth Godin. He talks about the new economy, the share economy, I think he talks about. And he talks about you have to give to know, like, and trust before people are going to use your product, especially now. Knowledge and information is available to everybody. These courses online, literally, you can find almost all that information for free if you hunt through the internet.
Oh, my gosh. YouTube. I told you I do my post-video editing. I've learned it all online from YouTube videos. It's incredible.
Well, I'm telling people if they want to support the show, go over to netcasting101.com and sign up for the course. It's not out there yet, and it's like $40. So that's how I'm making a little bit of money on the side. It's kind of fun, but then I have to deliver. I have to have a good product, and I have to have training. And my theory is I do this every day. I want to come up after the show and get on and talk to people and help them who are especially in the group, with their show or questions, and interview them. It's a great way to interview other people or get on their shows too. So let's go to number 2, failing forward. Oh my. If someone asks me what my biggest failure is or what failure to remember, I fail so much. It's ridiculous.
How do you learn? I've always regretted, and I've said this to people, is some people are book learners, and I certainly read, and I've learned a lot from book learning, but it just, my life is, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, as the case may be, I would say 80% of what I've learned is from all the mistakes that I make, and there's just no way around it for me.
I tell people the main thing is they say don't fall on your sword more than once. You can only do it once because that means you're dead. When you in the military, when you fall on your sword, and sometimes there may be a reason to do that. Maybe you're not going to stay in the military, something of that nature, or government or business or whatever it might be, or in politics. But you can fail, but always remember in the back of your mind, try to figure out some kind of safety net for yourself to get back up, because you only fail when you can't get back up.
And don't be afraid of making mistakes. What you and I are doing here with Blab is a perfect example. So if there's anybody who's ever going to watch any of this, just don't think that Bill and I know what we're doing. We may know more than you in certain respects, but what we're doing is we're just kind of charging head forward and getting bruised and battered, and that's how we're learning. We're students here. We're not teachers. And we're teaching by learning.
You fail forward. And then tell you what, like I said, I was in the process of putting together online training. By the way, this online training business is very complex. I've interviewed people from Linda, and this whole new evolution of online training is just complex. We've had the top people from WordPress development on in online training, and everyone's got so many opinions and so many ideas and how it should be done. And the universities, I got a call yesterday from a big organization that's selling online training for universities who wanted to talk to me. I'm going like, this is nuts, because they're selling the university for like hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's stuff that I think I can buy for under $1,000 in this platform. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, one of the things perhaps that you and I need to learn is how to monetize what we do better. Your course is a way of monetizing it. And I certainly say you're talking me into it. I'm going to sign up for your cost. First of all, $40.
It's not nothing now.
Yeah, it's nothing. It just, I mean, you're not going to make a lot of money doing that, but I would like to take the course, and I'm going to follow up on that.
To tell the truth, I've done a little modeling, and I think I need to get it up around a couple $100 and then add other services. But I used to be a general contractor, and I realize I know a lot about everything now, but there are people who are better than I am in a lot of those different areas. So I needed to migrate over to finding the very best people to set up a quick website and the best systems. Now, most podcasters like to use Genesis with Dynamic, and that's what I use. It's a simple framework that just works. It's hard to explain. But that's another story. Hey, let's drive on here. Failing forward. So we've definitely failed forward quite a few times in our life. We survived.
What was the biggest? What was your biggest failure?
You know, I have so many you can't even count them.
Oh, well, I can name two really big
yours. I'll name a couple of mine.
The ones that affected me emotionally, my first marriage, I really considered that to be a failure, and realized that I was far too young and I didn't know anything. And I'd like to think that I've learned from that, because my second marriage, I've now been married 23 years. But I think that part of that is maturity. I didn't get remarried until I was in my 40s. My other huge failure was moving back to New York in the early 80s. And I mean, I was a pauper. I didn't make money. It's just like nothing went right. It was a huge struggle for 3 years. And then I said, okay, I'm going to move back to California. And I had this immediate success. And I'm going, first of all, nobody wanted it to have anything to do with me when I was in New York. And then I come back to California, and it's like these real estate companies are fighting over me. It's like, let's do it. Who can bid the highest? And everybody seemed to, at that time, love me. And I'm still not sure what happened, but despite my best efforts, I think that 3 years of struggling, I learned something and I matured. And that must have been very evident to everyone out here in California.
That's good. Hey, I was going to ask real quick, where did you grow up in New York?
Plainview, New York.
I think I know where that is. Where is that?
Smack dab in the middle of Long Island.
Okay. I know Smithtown and Deer Park are. Yeah,
Smithtown is much further out. Mm-hmm. Plainview is right on the border between Nassau and Suffolk counties. Plainview is in Nassau County. Huntington is just on the other side of the border.
Is Teddy Roosevelt's house not far away? I'm trying to think. Where he grew up?
I'm pretty sure Teddy Roosevelt's place is north along the North Shore.
Okay, yeah, by the Merchant Marine Coast Guard Academy, not Coast Guard, but the Merchant Marine Academy, somewhere up in that area.
Right. For people who don't know, Long Island at its widest is 15 miles wide.
Yep.
And I think the highest hill is about 15 feet.
Anyway, so that's good to know. Good to find out that information. And I'd love to go more detail, but we need to drive on the last one. Simon Sinek, you have why, the why. And I think that is so important. When I heard Simon Sinek's why speech he did on TED, which is really, talk about a bad broadcast and all sorts of mistakes, one of the best ever, and it's poorly, it was poorly recorded, but it's a great speech and went viral.
Yeah, I actually listened to the book. And I don't know how I came around to it, but I started listening to it and I started going, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. It really had a tremendous influence on everything that I did from about 4 years ago on, which is when I read it. And when he talks about start with the why, and excuse me, because this is my interpretation. There are experts out there who will probably correct me. But in an organization, he's a strong believer that the CEO is the person who starts out and saying, why are we doing this? Other than making money. Because every business is out there to make money. So if you get rid of the money element, why are we doing this? And he uses Apple as a perfect example. It's like they were really looking to change the world. They were looking to bring computerization to the lives of everyday people versus IBM or Microsoft. And if you not only start with your why, you're clear in deciding that, and then you remind yourself, because you do have to remind yourself because it's easy to get off track, that everything else will fall in line in your business. And you have to, everything that you write, everything that you market, everything is based upon that, and you will convey a certain genuineness. And as long as it's the right why, at least if it's the right why, you know who to communicate it to.
So the why, and your radio show has brought in relationships and connections, but what's the why of why you're an attorney and have the radio show?
Wow. Well, the
we
why
talked about that earlier.
Yeah, why I'm an attorney? Well, it was because my parents insisted that I do something with my life.
You talked about politics.
Well, yeah, I became an attorney to become a politician, but that very quickly went by the wayside. Why I stayed as a lawyer is because life took over and it was a good way to make a living. That's not a good why. Well, it's not a good why. It's good, and it's provided me a good way of life and some comforts that I might not have otherwise done. But why I did the radio show was to get more business. But later on, I found that the why is communicating to people, and helping people. As a lawyer, very early on, and this kind of ties things in. As a lawyer, very early on, I would market myself by writing in business journals, and I would communicate things about the law in business, and people would read it in a business journal and then hire me. Now, that was the purpose, but really the underlying thing was I really liked communicating and helping people. And then when they'd hire me as a lawyer, I really felt that I was helping people, and it would be devastating if things didn't go our way. My clients were always, in my opinion, far more forgiving of my fallacies than I was. So that why can be in almost anything. I did an interview where someone interviewed me, and he teaches these concepts, and he said that my why is my predominant why is a need to clearly explain things to people. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I think that has something to do with me.
Very good. So that's good. So we've sort of tied everything together, and we're going to take another break. And during that break, you get to give the commercial.
I get to, my commercial.
So we are back, and it's time for Howard's commercial. He's going to tell us a little bit about his radio show program, how to get in contact with him, and what he's doing now for business.
Well, I've now have 3 shows, and I'm getting very confused because I have 3 Twitter accounts and different websites, and I'm trying to figure out where I am. And sometimes when I get online, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I am. So I really do have to learn how to straighten that out. But the first show, this CRE Radio and TV, is what I started 5 years ago. Almost exactly 5 years ago. And that's where we talk about commercial real estate. And there are a lot of commercial real estate brokers, investors. Crowdfunding in commercial real estate has gotten to be very big. So I get out to interview and try to educate people. It's primarily that. The new show, which is very similar to what you're doing now, is Politics Central US. That is something that I'm probably going to regret. I really think that it's about time. I'm using Blab, and I want to bring in the audience to express themselves rather than the pundits telling us how we think. And I'm going to try to keep it very respectful And but I know that we're going to hit crazies at some point in time. I'm going to push that mute button and move on. I don't want hate speech. But I think that people can disagree and still have really good points to get out. So I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but I think that I've heard some things from him that I actually agree with. And Cruz, he said something the other day. I thought it was a really good thing. The problem that I have with what we hear a lot is that when you watch CNN or Fox, it's like the pundits are not allowed to concede a good point. In order to convince people of their way of thinking, they feel like they have to go, everything that the person says is nonsense. And that, in my opinion, is nonsense. And since I'm soon to be on Medicare, I have got nothing to lose. I think that it's time, particularly since I had a background when I was in my late teens and early 20s in politics, it's time for us to say things. And I don't know, maybe I'll fail miserably. I don't know how well I'll handle it. And I thought you handled it very, very well. It's Politics Central US. And you could try to link to me, Howard F. Kline, or US Politics CNTRL on Twitter. But my base right now is going to be out of Facebook. And then I'm going to have another show, which is just going to be a little bit more like this, where we're just going to be talking about life and the lessons that we've learned. And I haven't figured that one out.
You're doing this all on Blab, right?
No, most of it is on Blab. I do have I have a wraparound, I call it, webinar jam that I use for Hangouts. And I use it because it's a great marketing tool. It's inexpensive, generally speaking, and it makes it really easy for my guest to participate, which is, so that's still available out there. And then some of the interviews that are not live, I do interviews on Skype.
Yeah, Skype's a very good platform.
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of stuff. Like you're doing a lot of different variables. My hat's off to you. So one last question.
You're the one with 17 websites.
Well, that's
please.
Actually, I'm trying to. My whole thing now is speeding things up and timing. But here's the one last question. This Sunday we have an opening, and love to have you come on Sunday at 9:00 to Meet the Voter. MeetTheVoter.com, and you can tell us about your new show and why you're doing it. And we'll talk about the news. You're going to have to watch Meet the Press because we talk about Meet the Press the first 15 minutes. Then
what time is Meet the Press on?
In California, I don't know. Here in Reno, it comes on at 8 o'clock in the morning till 9.
Okay. And so that probably is the same time. Meet the Press. Who's on Meet the Press?
Oh, it varies each week.
Okay.
You've got Meet the Press. Meet the Press basically has been there forever, of course.
Yeah, there are some shows that I've seen recently where the host he looks like he's 150 years. As a matter of fact, all of the guests look like they've been on the show for 300 years. Yeah, they're pushing Noah, except they have one person they've thrown in who's probably under 40.
Yeah. Well, Chuck Todd, I like Meet the Press a lot. I like to listen and look at the background of the people, but Chuck Todd is a relatively new commentator, and he's the youngest usually of the group that is on. But you're right. They could break it up a little bit more and get some younger folks, but they've got the key people from usually the New York Times, Washington Post, different elements on, usually a conservative, not.
We're going to have to do this. I won't be able to do it on Sunday. That's when we are really
moving. Oh, you're
physically moving.
It'll be open. We're going to do this. We're going on in the show and we're building it slowly, but we can talk offline and we'll definitely have you on for a date. But we'll set up. In closing, you're really busy and we'll have you back on and talk. And love to have you on a show next year. You're welcome to come on and see how you're doing.
This is why I love social media. You can. I really like you. and we can develop a friendship.
Well, let's see if I can get the right music as we finish here, because this is the music we're supposed to use. So that means it's the end of the show. Actually, when you hear the little bliss, it's the end of the show. Didn't get that quite right, but that's okay.
We'll work.
Hey, this is Bill. I'm back with you for one last thing, and I can't resist. Tonight at 6 p.m., and again, this is December 22nd. And by the way, we're going to be up in iTunes in a few hours. So tonight, 6 p.m. on Blab, blab.im. If you just scroll through it after 6 p.m. Pacific, which is like a good time, it's 9 p.m. Eastern, you can just find Politics Central US. The easiest way is to scroll through it and look for Howard Kline. But if you want to try to search on their search system, I think it's at Howard something Kline.
Howard F. as in Frederick, Kline, Kline. So it's
Howard F. Kline. So if you search under that, you'll find it. Sometimes you just type in his name and you'll find the show. But just scroll through it and you'll find it. Enjoy Blab. Blab's a great platform.